How can you come to a wet fit and don't expect for you to get wet? You don't know it's blows you go get. You watching SAT TV.
Bring love the reading, SAT Telecoms.
Welcome to SAT TV News. I am your presenter, Elisha George. In our top stories, PM Skerrit speaks on importance of moving to CCJ. World Performance and State of the Industry report. China and Taiwan hold government-to-government talks for first time in 65 years. And in sports, Barbados marches to finals of Nagico Super 50 tournament with major victory. Details of these will follow.
You're watching SAT Telecoms.
Welcome back. The Red Cross of Dominica was on Monday, February 10, 2014, presented with a check of US $30,000 from the Embassy of the People's Republic of China, which will go towards humanitarian aid for post-flood relief and construction following the trough system on December 24, 2013. Director of the Dominica Red Cross, Mrs. Kathleen Pinat Byrne, said that this trough system gave us a Christmas to remember for all the wrong reasons.
The ensuing Red Cross response activities, coordinated through the Office of Disaster Management, led to a distribution of relief supplies on 30th and 31st January, following a generous donation from FCIB-CIBC. Today we are here to witness the true humanitarian bond which exists between National Societies of the Red Cross of China through the Embassy of the People's Republic of China, who's here to hand over a donation of $30,000 to the Red Cross of Dominica towards its recovery efforts.
Councillor Wong Zhao Sing, representative from the Embassy of the People's Republic of China to Dominica, expressed sympathy to those who were affected by the trough system.
China and Dominica are friendly countries. Since the establishment of diplomatic relations 10 years ago, the cooperation in every field between China and Dominica has been going on smoothly. And we are partners supporting each other in the international arena. Mutual communications between the peoples of our two countries is increasing in the recent years, and understandings between each other and friendship among the peoples are deepening day by day. China is a country with a huge population and a vast geographical area, but China is still a developing country. We are facing a lot of challenges and difficulties in the process of constructing China, and also we feel the same when we see our friends, brothers and sisters in Dominica facing the same challenges and difficulties.
She said they are pleased to see the determination of the government and the resilience and fortitude of the people of Dominica, in addition to the collective support from the world to make progress. Ms. Wong reiterated that China will stand firmly with the people of Dominica, giving full support to their recovery efforts, noting it is through the combined efforts of Dominicans that they will overcome this difficult time. Mrs. Helen Royer, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health, thanked the Red Cross of China for such a kind donation.
The disaster caused by floods in December 2013 led to unprecedented infrastructural damage to some parts of the country, which necessitates prompt interventions. Natural disasters such as floods, landslides, mudslides, and soil erosion can threaten human life by bringing about socio-economic disorders as well as damage of property, and if not addressed in a timely manner, can cause further damage. We have had similar disasters in the past, and we are well aware of the impact that they can have on development, and this is why it is always welcoming news when we receive aid to respond to these situations.
She said this donation comes at an opportune time while we recover from our losses. In more news, vendors who sell their produce at the Roseau Market are being called on by Superintendent of the Roseau Market, Mr. Julius Carbon, to make the market their home.
I would like to emphasize the need for vendors to pay greater attention to the laws under which they operate, particularly the licensed vendors, the holders of vendors' license. The Roseau Market have been established for the purpose of creating an avenue where they can distribute their products. We've seen persons, business persons, locals, not only agri-fresh agricultural products, but products of all types come to the Roseau Market to boost and promote their own products.
He noted the vendors should use the market as an avenue to sell their local products. Mr. Carbon stated the market should be a place where persons can purchase locally produced and manufactured items. Meanwhile, Mayor of Roseau, Mrs. Irene John, says she wants the vending of fish outside the market to stop immediately. She explained this is so as many vendors clean their fish on the side of the road, leaving the city with a stench from the dirty fish water left on the sidewalks and in the gutters. Mrs. John noted there can be exceptions for persons who vend fish from the back of vans, as they can live with their waste. However, all other fish vendors should use the market where there is an area specifically designated for fish vending. In related news, Mayor of Roseau, Mrs. Irene John, says action must be taken to move the vendors on the Dame Eugenia Charles Boulevard, an issue that has been ongoing for a long time but is yet to be resolved. She noted it is alleged they cannot be moved as general elections is near and no one will take such a step to have them moved.
It is not a political move. The move is to have them in an organized place, have more law and order in Roseau, and to have, have them beautifully located in one spot. It's not the intention to shut down or to pack up their stuff and to go home. No. The idea is you have your stuff in an organized way, and even then you'll generate more income than what they're generating today, if they're generating any at all. That is the whole intention.
She added this move is something she's looking at vigorously, and the sooner it can be accomplished, the better. Meanwhile, she added that she will also pursue the idea for a home to curb the vagrants in and around the city of Roseau and reintroduce them back into society.
There's a law to take care of the vagrants. We do not want to take the vagrants off the road and throw them in a corner. We need to have them in an organized place where they'll be taken care of, they'll be fed, they will have a bath, and there'll be persons taking care of them. That is the whole intention. At least they will have a shower, they'll have a proper meal, and where you have persons taking care of them. That is the intention, because at the end of it, there is somebody's child, some person's children, and a human being. It's not to just dump them aside. It's to secure them, to make sure that they're well taken care of, and not meet them dead by the roadside or dead by the river or whatever. That is the whole intention, to see how we can bring them back into society and taking care of them.
In other stories, Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit says it is important that Dominica move from the Privy Council to the Caribbean Court of Justice, CCJ. The government will soon go to Parliament to receive approval for the switch, as there is a 90-day period between the first and final reading in Parliament. He said the CCJ is the best court for justice in Dominica and the Caribbean, as it will allow for greater access to the courts.
How many ordinary citizens of Dominica can take any matter before the Privy Council? How many of us can afford it?
people who have gone to the Privy Council are governments, because they have the treasury to support they're going to go up to, and a few rich businesses and rich individuals. The vast majority of people have no resources, and most of the cases that have come from the Caribbean to the Privy Council are people who have been placed on death penalties, and they have been able to represent themselves because they are foundations in the United Kingdom who are opposed to the death penalty and who have been financing the people's appeals to the Privy Council. But we believe that it will cause for there to be a greater justice for all our citizens in Dominica and the Caribbean. And it is a mature move, it is a responsible move, it is a progressive move, and it is a move towards gaining our full and outright independence as a people, as a country, and as a region.
The Prime Minister has also questioned the United Workers' Party recent opposition to the Caribbean Court of Justice after an interview with the Caribbean Media Corporation, CMC, where United Workers' Party candidate for the Grand Four and Rivière-Sierra constituency, Dr. Thompson Fontaine, stated that the UWP does not believe that Dominica is ready for this move. Dr. Fontaine also added they do not believe it should have been done, as there are still a lot of questions about the judiciary and the ability of our own people to preside over themselves. However, Prime Minister Skerrit said this is another display of the United Workers' Party being unfit for any leadership role in Dominica.
The issue that we have not consulted people is an untruth. We have had several consultations far and wide on the courts. The president of the court, Mr. Dennis Byron, has been in Dominica to speak about the courts to the private sector. I have written to the private sector, all the private sector groups, all the unions, seeking the views on Dominica's accession to the court in its final jurisdiction. Dominica has been a signatory to the courts. Dominica went to the CDB along with all of the member states of CARICOM to sign on to the contracting of a loan, and in fact the taxpayers are paying for this loan, which is financing the operations of the courts. Now, what is the UWP's opposition to the courts? They have not given you any reasons to the courts as to why we should not go. The only thing Thompson has said, is that we are not ready as a people to oversee our own affairs.
According to the Prime Minister, Dr. Fontaine is basically saying that the Caribbean people are not intelligent, mature, or capable enough to manage their own affairs.
In the Caribbean, we have some of the brightest judges and lawyers you can find anywhere in the world. So Dennis Byron has sat on many UN tribunals, many courts in Africa, for example, courts established by the UN. We have Caribbean jurists sitting on the ICC. I mean, on many international legal tribunals, because of their qualifications, because of their experience, and because of the judgments that they've received. We have had in the Caribbean, even Dominica, people like Dr. Liverpool and Mr. Justice Georges, may his soul rest in peace. All of these people are world-renowned and world-respected jurists. And for us to say, for the UWP to say as a party that in the second decade of the 21st century, that we're not prepared, that we believe that a white person in England who doesn't know anybody in the Caribbean, who doesn't know about how we do our life, is more qualified than our own people to manage the affairs of our country. This is a very sad state.
The government's intention to move to the CCJ will be heard at the next sitting of Parliament very soon, according to Mr. Skerrit. In more news, the Caribbean Recruitment Program, in partnership with the government of Dominica, celebrates the 20th anniversary of Midwestern State University's Caribbean Students Organization, recognizing the almost 1,200 students who have enrolled at the university since the program began. In recognition of the anniversary, Midwestern State University officials will be in Dominica for an open seminar for prospective undergraduate and postgraduate students on February 19th at 4:30 p.m. at the Public Service Union on Valley Road, Roseau. All undergraduates receive a scholarship and competitive waiver that allows them to pay less than the state resident rates in tuition. Students earn additional scholarships through academic excellence and compete for the Good Neighbor Scholarship, which covers tuition for the final year. Postgrads can earn scholarships and assistantships up to the full cost of their education based on individual academic records. 8 new students from Dominica arrived at the university this semester, and 15 additional ones will be accepted for this August. Midwestern State University was the first institution to recognize the credits from all local OECS colleges and paved the way for other institutions to do the same. In other stories, speeches at the opening day parade on Saturday, February 8th, saw the presence of several officials who play an integral role in ensuring that the carnival activities take place. First up was Mr. Colin Piper, CEO and Director of Tourism at the Discover Dominica Authority, one of the contributors to the success of the opening parade. According to Mr. Piper, the parade is just the start of what is to come for the next 3 weeks.
We saw a lot of Dominica's culture on parade today, and from a tourism standpoint, this is what we want people to come to the destination to experience and then go tell their friends that we're just next door and even bring a friend. But behind the scenes, there has been a lot of collaboration to make this day possible.
Mr. Piper thanked the police who aided in implementing and planning the new route and reminded the public that there are a lot of cameras watching so as to be mindful of the acts they engage in during the season. Honorable Justina Charles, Minister for Culture, Youth and Sports, also addressed the crowd, noting that Dominica's authentic and unique culture sets us apart to attract more visitors to the island.
This backdrop is unrivaled. This coupled with the colors and the spectacles of our sensei, revelers, the moko jumbies, the kalinagos, the costume bands, and advertising floats provide iconic images of our carnival. These iconic images can then be used in the various media to promote our carnival around the world and to entice people to come to Dominica to be part of this unique and authentic carnival celebration.
She cautioned persons who may be inclined to engage in any unlawful activities, highlighting that tourists are ambassadors and further promote Dominica.
During the next 3 weeks, we will witness the opening of carnival in places such as Portsmouth, St. Joseph, Grants Bay, the Kalinago territory, among others. And then we move into the final stretch with the various competitions and the 2 days of street jumper. I therefore urge our people to participate and get involved in one way or another.
Honorable Ian Douglas, Minister for Tourism and Legal Affairs, was also present. In more news, Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit declared Monday, February 10, 2014, the opening of Black History Month here in Dominica. The month was officially opened at the Public Library located on Victoria Street, Roseau. PM Skerrit formally thanked Mr. Franklin Georges, a benefactor who donated several books to the library as part of Black History Month.
Let me, on behalf of the government and people of Dominica, and the Ministry of Education in particular, to thank Mr. Georges for his most generous gift to all of us in Dominica. Giving us books to read, making them accessible to us is an important form of national contribution. And Mr. Georges, through his own pride and passion for Black history and his desire to see all of us in the country, irrespective of our race, have an appreciation for the contribution which Black people have made, not only to Dominica's development, but to the development and advancement of the world over.
On the issue of the teaching of Black History Month at schools, the Prime Minister said the authority is in the hands of the teachers and parents to introduce Black history into the school system.
So he doesn't have to take a directive from myself as the Prime Minister or the Minister for Education to instruct this, because there are a number of things which the schools from time to time do with no authority from myself or the Minister of Education. But it has to be a call on the decision by the school system, and to say that they have my full support to introduce Black history at the secondary school.
Meanwhile, the Prime Minister hinted at plans for a new library, noting that he would like to see Dominica with the most prestigious library in the Caribbean.
I have received a design for the library, but I am not satisfied with it. I want to better what you see at your back in respect to the State House when it comes to the library. So we are now redesigning the library, and we'll present it to the country in very short order. But the people of Dominica would have to assist the government in determining where do you place the library.
He says the space between the DBS radio and the current library is not sufficient for what is being planned, and there is strong opposition to demolishing the current building.
It will require the demolition of one of the buildings. I understand that there is strong opposition to the demolition of this present library structure. So we have to look at where do we place this library. It has to be in close proximity to the population, walking distance, so it cannot be out of town, so to speak. So once we design the library, and we will be in a position to engage the general public as to where we place the library. Because clearly, in the second decade of the 21st century, this cannot be our national library.
In closing, he added that the education system should pay particular attention to producing students who can stand the test of time and who can withstand all of the pressures out there in the world, Dominica included. In other stories, the Northern Pastors Fellowship, in collaboration with the Dominica Association of Evangelical Churches, led a march through the streets of Portsmouth on Sunday, February 9th to express their disapproval of a concert featuring Jamaican dancehall artist Tommy Lee Sparta. Tommy Lee Sparta, who refers to himself as Uncle Demon, is expected to headline a concert at the Aberdeen Cinema in Portsmouth on Sunday, February 16th, along with Triple K Global and other bands. Parish priest of the Portsmouth Roman Catholic Church, Father Herman Chaplice, who was part of the march, said because of the lyrics of Tommy Lee's song, the leaders of the various churches in Portsmouth have taken a stand against the concert.
We are doing that to inform, to guide our young people as to their participation in that show, because we feel strongly that his lyrics, his music, what he represents, do not represent the faith and the belief that we have in our Lord Jesus Christ. And so this event is meant towards that. We have started at Grenville playing field, and we are walking to Borough Square, where we're going to be having a number of speeches, this situation, and of course a number of other ills in society, violence, crime, drugs, you name it, all of that will be spoken about during the various speeches that will be given by various church leaders.
He said, just as the public has a choice to choose what music they want to listen to, the church took a stand to represent their position, as everyone is entitled to their freedom of choice.
But for those who don't share the view of such an individual, it is important that we make our voice be heard in the public, so that other persons who share similar views and other persons who are not clear, they can have a different view or different message, and they can be guided by not only what we say, but by the word of God.
But one of the main things is that you all, as the Catholic Church, do not support the lyrics in this gentleman's song.
Oh, certainly not. I mean, especially the fact that he called himself Uncle Demon. That is clearly an indication of what the guy represents. And I say to people, you go and Google the guy, you go do research, and you realize that he does not represent. You know, just last week he was arrested in Jamaica for some crime that was done. So therefore, everything the guy represents. We're not saying he shouldn't come. Of course he has a right to come, but the thing is, we don't share what he represents and what he preaches.
However, in response to the march, Mr. Cabral Douglas, the owner and manager of Aberdeen Cinema in Portsmouth, who is also the organizer of the concert, says the march on Sunday was simply a case of the blind leading the blind.
Found out that they were having a protest demonstration action in Portsmouth, and I was very receptive and keen to attend the demonstration in order to communicate with the leaders within the religious community to find out and investigate what their concerns were and to see what steps I could take to address those concerns. So as a result of that, I spent the entire duration of the protest speaking to people on the ground, speaking to religious leaders, speaking to pastors, speaking to priests. And throughout the entire demonstration, not one individual or one member of the religious community could articulate to me something about Tommy Lee that they found offensive. They couldn't articulate a song that they found offensive. They were not capable of articulating a lyric that they found offensive. And many of them were not even aware of the fact that just last week in Tortola, Tommy Lee performed a successful show, and the bishop, Klein, had to apologize to Tommy Lee for misrepresenting his music in a way that wasn't an accurate reflection of what he actually represents. So it seems to me that it's simply a case of the blind leading the blind.
Mr. Douglas says Tommy Lee is a perfect complement to the opening of our carnival, as he is a very creative individual in the music industry who has pushed the envelope like all artists aspire to do. He added the artist has expanded dancehall music in areas that it has not been before.
For example, when Tommy Lee leaves Portsmouth, he's going to Russia. When was the last time a dancehall artist or any artist from the Caribbean been embraced in Russia? So this is a guy that's at the forefront of creativity, and he's been extremely successful in exporting Jamaican culture to the world. And we think that he's a perfect complement to some of the talent that we have here in Dominica, like Triple K, for example, and some of the other local artists who will have a great opportunity to perform on a big stage, and hopefully that opportunity can lead to bigger and better things in their own careers individually.
So basically what you're saying in a nutshell is all the opposition to this artist coming down to Dominica is the blind leading the blind, and you see nothing wrong with him.
Well, if one of them can come to me and tell me what it is that they're protesting against, then I would listen to them and see what steps I can take to alleviate the concerns. But like I said, I spoke to dozens and dozens of them yesterday. And really, just to give an example, I said, okay, so you're here for the protest today. I said, what is it that you do not like about this individual? As a matter of fact, I just asked her plain and simple, why are you here? She said, Tommy. I said, oh, you mean Tommy Lee? She said, yeah, that's it, Tommy Lee. So she doesn't even know the name of the person she's protesting against. I said, do you know any of his songs? She says, no. So I said, why are you protesting against somebody who you don't know and don't know anything about? And she said, she thinks the bishop said something bad about him. So that's the level of analysis that has gone into this protest. And I would urge people to protest something that they should at least investigate and educate themselves as to the background issue of what it is that they're protesting against.
However, during an interview by Entertainment Report in Jamaica, where many Jamaicans are of the view that he is leading the young people astray, Tommy Lee said he is not to be blamed.
Not even parents them can control the young people. You see me? Them lead themselves astray. You know what I mean? Them do what them please. Because that's the right way of living, do what they please. You see? Without somebody go wrong, or right go live. You know what I mean?
Do you think about the influence you're having on teenagers? You think that's altogether a good influence?
Good thing is, as I tell you, I do show, I not sing for weak people, I not sing for coward. I sing for people who can defend themselves and who can defend their country. I don't like weak people.
Lee brought his Uncle Demon persona complete with face paint to Sting. Didn't know what to make of it.
I get a nice response from the crowd and I enjoy myself, and like, the people enjoy the show still.
But there were a lot of times when the crowd was just quiet and just watching. It was almost like they didn't know what to make of Tommy Lee.
They don't know say I'm Uncle Demon already. I'm proud to be Uncle Demon. I'm my character that you have Dr. Evil, you have Lord Evil, you have a teacher, you have a doctor, you have a ninja, you have Merciless Awagen. You have one, you have a warrior, everybody you have different characters. I'm a demon, I'm proud to be a demon.
But doesn't the demon make some people nervous?
None of them demons still now. I don't believe in a demon, you know. You see it? I don't believe in a religion or anything. I just live my life happy. I know however me I go, you know.
Canada denied the artist a visitor's visa, while it is reported that only 9 people showed up for his concert in Trinidad in 2013. The artist was among 5 persons recently taken into custody by the Lottery Scam Task Force in Jamaica for suspected breaches of the law reform Fraudulent Transaction Special Provisions Act on Monday, February 3, 2014. In more news, the Renegades Calypso 10th Volume 2 started off quite shaky when the song crew encountered some difficulty with its setup. Nonetheless, Calypsonian Benno kept the crowd entertained with his inaugural debut song written by famous Dominican Calypsonian writer Pat Aaron.
A man fool you once, that is not your fault, oh no. You trust a man that should not be trusted. Mama me day I let him fool you twice. You can't call on God, oh no. Because you got just what you wanted. Mama me day I if you let material gain make you forget the years of pain. What a shame, what a shame. Look, you repeat, that's a mistake again.
After what was described as a big-time artist performance from the crowd, the band, which still had a bit of difficulty going forward, managed to get the act together to stage the remainder of the show. Calypsonian Soof, The Inciter, P.O., and crowd favorites Headliner and Mighty O.P. carried on the list of performances.
Somebody open up the door. I cannot hide it anymore. I'm sick and tired and I know for sure. It's a dose of Calypso that will be my cure. Want to open up the door. It's Calypso I'm looking for. Calypso is my cure. Tell me why you do that. Take a motion and put it in the child. Girl, tell me why you do that. Take a motion and put it in the child. Sing! Sing! What?
The entertainment continued with Walk Socks Tomato, White Fairy, Peter Prosper's Alice in the Palace, Jack, Mighty Acres Leave Me Alone, and FBI.
Don't shall bread. Scary said is better than your egg instead. Agriculture dead. Scary give them toilet. Take out your bread. Scary give them toilet. They don't have a job. Scary give them toilet. Don't keep some fish in the night, but scary give them toilet. Everybody, scary give them toilet.
Caribbean Rose, Sugar S, Alicia, Explosion, Trendsetter, and JD also put on performances later that night.
Is that you will never see. If you think you getting money, Trendsetter joining Labour Party. You don't get in no pattern payments, no increments, no pattern payments. I cannot pay my rent. So much projects from the country, I can't get a job. Unemployment all around me like a blinded fog. Somebody please explain how we come to this, oh Lord. Oh, in a land of majority, black man is a dog.
The show closed off with Deros singing Pass the Pepper. And in court news, Dale Bernard of Goodwill is on $2,500 bond for theft and awaiting sentencing for causing malicious damage to a cell phone. Both charges were read to the defendant and he pleaded guilty. According to the facts, on Thursday, 6 January 2014, the defendant had taken the phone, a Samsung Galaxy S2, valued at $881 from the complainant, who he said owed him for an iPod which the complainant had borrowed some time ago and never returned. He told the complainant he owed him $2,500 and if he could not pay him, he would hold on to the phone until he could make the payment. In the process of trying to get the phone, it fell and was damaged. However, after the facts were read, Magistrate Bernard Parkhead instructed the defendant that the theft charge would be reread and instructed him to plead not guilty. According to Parkhead, based on the facts, there was no evidence to support the theft charge. The charge was reread and Bernard pled not guilty. The prosecution indicated that they were proceeding to trial and the date was set for 7th April 2014 for trial and sentencing. Meanwhile, Brendan Ravalier of Jimmet will reappear in court on Friday 16th May 2014 for his trial. He was charged for being armed with an offensive weapon, battery on a police officer, and escaping police custody. He is currently on $5,000 bail, and as a part of his bail conditions, he is required to report to the St. Joseph Police Station every Wednesday and not commit any offenses while on bail. But Candy Charles of St. Joseph got his lucky break after his tearful plea in mitigation was accepted by Magistrate Candia George. Charles faced a charge of theft which occurred at Suki's supermarket at Newtown on Wednesday, 11 December 2013. He stole a bottle of Poncha Cuba priced $53.27 and a bottle of White Oak rum priced $18.95 from the establishment and made good his escape. Charles had entered the supermarket with another man and proceeded to place items in the shopping basket. In the process, the defendant placed the items in a bag he was carrying. When the men approached the cashier, they paid for the items in the basket, and when the cashier asked what had happened to the rum she had seen them with, they ran out the store. The matter was reported to police, and when Charles was arrested, he said he had nothing to say and that he was guilty. The items were not recovered. In a moving plea in mitigation, he told the magistrate he had never stolen from anyone before. According to him, the items were placed into his bag without his knowledge. He was cautioned to stay away from such friends and reflect on the saying that if you lay with dogs, you will catch fleas. He was ordered to pay compensation of $72.70 by 14 February 2014, or in default, spend 1 month in prison. This has been the local segment of the news. Coming up next, regional highlights.